All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, going to do a little video today on something that we all kind of succumb to at times, just as coaches. Learning how to just defend the things you need to defend and not chase ghosts. Learning how to defend formation structurally within your system first and not get so enamored with defending plays. It's something that happens to all of us within the game plan world once the season starts. So just want to do a little video touching on how if you can just systematically defend the things that you need to defend and the formations you need to defend every week, and you can teach proper fundamentals, you'll have a chance to be successful with every game plan. Make sure you check out some of our partners, Dome Hats, the headwear company we use. If you're looking for custom quality hats, check out Dome Hats. Baker Sporting Goods, company we use for our fan gear, our coaches gear, our players gear, our uniforms distributed by Baker's. Just Play Football, #1 play drawing tool on the market. If I'm going to do a webinar or for my Patreon site, or if I'm going to speak at any clinics, I always use Just Play Football to diagram my stuff. Game Strat sideline replay system that we've used the last couple of years here. Absolutely phenomenal, great customer service, no issues with the hardware at all. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine, get thousands of reps without needing a partner. HighandTight ball security training aid that teaches your players proper ball security with proper points of pressure, and you get instant auditory feedback. If you don't hear the beep, you're not holding the ball correctly. And then StandPerfect, which is a training aid to build consistent, reliable stances, especially with younger players at younger ages. Baseball, softball, golf, football. Put them down, eliminate buzzwords, get more reps. Don't have to worry about, hey, 4 inches, 6 inches, heel toe, stagger, wrong foot stagger, right foot up. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You just put them down where you want them, put them in stances, and get going. It's great for indie, it's great for pre-practice work, so make sure you check out StandPerfect. So what I've got drawn up right now is our old 4-2-5 stuff, split field coverage, right? And what usually ends up happening as a coach is you start to get into game plans, you get your film exchanges, you start breaking things down, and then one of the first things usually you have to do is get those scout cards ready, right? You got to get those scout cards ready of what the other team runs and the plays they run. And sometimes you get so enamored with plays that, you know, each week within the scouting plan that you're making, you get so enamored with these plays that you kind of forget if you could just defend structures in general. If you just broke things down, all right, and took a look and said, hey, look, if we can defend 2x2, if we can defend 2x1, and we can defend 3x1, then we can be solid within our game plan defending those things. Every week, the plays that the other team is running really won't matter as much, because at the end of the day, when it really shakes itself out, other than a couple game plans here or there, or some dynamic players where you want the ball out of the quarterback's hands or you want the ball out of a certain player's hands, as far as the structure offensively and defensively goes, you know, week in and week out, you can almost work versus a lot of the same things and still get the results that you want, because most offenses inherently are the same in nature. All right, once you figure them out formationally, you end up finding out in high school football that most of the time, every week, you're going to defend power counter. Maybe you'll defend inside zone or stretch, depending on where you are in the country. You'll defend some wing T stuff, but in nature, the wing T stuff is now very similar, or the spread stuff, I should say, is similar to wing T stuff. So you're going to face gap schemes. You're going to face, you know, you're going to have to defend some traps and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you go back and look, and I have done the last 3 or 4 years, I have done this within my own schedule in my own area where I coach football. You go back and you look, and 6 to 7 of the game plans every week would be virtually the same, because you're defending the same things. It's just that certain teams are better at some things and other teams are better at other things. The talent level changes from week to week. So when you're playing a team that's really talented, all of a sudden power counter and gap schemes become a little bit more of an issue. But if you really go back as a defensive coordinator and look at your game plans from week to week, what you'll end up finding out is if you just had a base system for how you defend 2x2, 3x1, 2x1, all right, and obviously you got to look at if you're going to see 21 personnel 2x1 as opposed to twins open. But if you just had the fundamentals of how you line up, the base coverages you play, in how you defend base plays, and you don't chase ghosts to come up with, I think we all get guilty every week of seeing things on film and saying, all right, well, this week I like this blitz, or I like this blitz, or I like this coverage. And, what ends up happening is you put too much game plan in, and you really don't execute the fundamentals, and then you go back and you look at games and you say, well, we lined up wrong a couple times, we fit things or we fit runs wrong a couple times, couple simple pass coverages we don't get, curl flat players don't drop, we give up, first downs on 3rd and long. Our 3rd down plan isn't very good, but our 3rd down plan isn't very good because we just don't play the things we're supposed to play effectively, because we probably spend too much time doing other things. So, for us in our all 4-2-5, if we were 2-by-2 and we were going to play 2 read to each side, okay? If we effectively rep this, and we rep the coverage aspect of it, and we rep the run fit aspect of it, and we worked on different motions, jet sweeps, power read action, counter off jet sweep, all the eye candy motions that you get, what your rotations might be to those motions, how you're going to handle those. If we rep those things every week versus 2-by-2, whether it be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like, remember in the old days where certain teams, Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama or Auburn or teams like that had big rivalry games, no matter when they played that rivalry game, they spent 15 to 20 minutes every week, or sometimes daily, defending that big rivalry game. So even if they were going to play a spread team, if their big rivalry game was a 21 personnel team, they would have a 15 to 20 minute period every week defending 21 personnel. If you, back in the day when Paul Johnson was doing some really great things at Georgia Tech, the teams in the ACC got into a point where every week they had to defend flex bone triple option for at least 20 minutes, because when it came time to play Georgia Tech, they couldn't defend that offense. Well, I look at it in a similar fashion. If we defended 2-by-2 every week for 10 to 15 minutes, regardless of who we played, and we worked on our base coverage structure, and we worked on our run fits, and we worked on some of our line stunts or things that we like to eliminate gaps, and we worked on our rotations versus certain jet motions or things like that. If we did that for 15 minutes a day, all the time, regardless of who we played, it would benefit us in the long run. All right? If we had our system of playing 3-by-1, okay, and for argument's sake, whatever your system is, everybody plays what they believe in. All right? But within, for us, within our quarters toolbox, one of our first deals that we're going to get into is, what we call mix. Other people, stump, stubby, all that other stuff, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a big terminology guy. I don't really follow Saban or Brent Venables, or I probably follow Gary Patterson more than anybody, but I'm not a big terminology guy when it comes to that stuff. So for us, it's called mix. Some people call it mini. I believe some people call it stubby or whatever it may be. But for us, it's just a very basic X-out system where we play man-to-man on a number 1. We play 2 read on 2 and 3. That allows us to use our safety on the backside. So even something to look at, if you only played sky coverage on the backside to the single, and you only played a D-gap safety that was a curl flat player and a corner that was a all-of-one deep down the field, however you want to terminology that, however you want to talk to your corner about playing all-of-one down the field, okay? If you only played that to the single side and you rep this coverage in 3-by-1 10 to 15 minutes a day, and you worked on the run fits and you worked on the top plays you're going to see out of 3-by-1, to me, it would benefit you so much more than week by week looking at the individual plays and saying, we got to defend this play, we got to defend this play. If you just spent time on the structure of 3-by-1, and you spent time on the run fits, and you spent time on, what you needed to do to the trip side, and working the back out, and pushing the mic, and adding the will, and all the things that would hurt that coverage. If you just spent time every week defending 3-by-1 in your base structure, and then maybe you add into it whatever your next deal is. So for us, one of our next deals is a cover 2 rotation to where now that corner stays down, but we bump the nickel down inside of 2 and 3. We play the safety over the deep half. We poach the backside 3 vertical now, and we end up playing man. All right, so we end up playing man back here. All right, and man back here. So however you want to talk about poaching the number 3 with the backside safety and whatever your rotations are, we go to a more of a cover 2 look simply because it ties into how we play mix with our press man-to-man. You could go to palms on 1 and 2, poach number 3. However you want to do it, whatever your changeup is. All right, for us, this is one of the changeups that gives us a few more droppers underneath. If we're getting hurt with spacing or short, intermediate passing concepts to the trips in our mixed coverage because we don't have enough underneath droppers. Now, you know, when we do this, we get into that kind of flooded out world where you've got a flat player, you've got a curl player, you've got a hook player. So I get 3 immediate underneath droppers to the trip side, but I get stuck in man-to-man on the backside. But if that's your next go-to, or whatever your next go-to is in 3x1, if you just spent time every week playing your base 3x1 coverage and then repping your secondary 3x1 coverage every week, 15 to 20 minutes, working against all the standard plays that you're going to see in 3x1, you'll find out that when it comes time to a game plan and you start drawing up scout cards, you'll find out that you'll be just fine defending the things that you need to defend each week. Now, maybe there's 1 or 2 each week. Maybe there's 1 or 2 wrinkles a team does that you absolutely have to rep and you have to work on. But in my experience and in my opinion, I feel like all the 3x1 structures that you see predominantly, they're all very similar on offense. So if you just rep the same things every week, and in your coverage structure, you work on the beaters and you work on the things that you know are going to give you some issues in that coverage, and you don't chase ghosts of what might happen or what could happen, you'll play better football and you'll win more football games. All right? Obviously, I think one of the big trends that you've seen the last couple of years at least in all of football, whether you want to call it 11 or 20 or depending on where they line up, you know, that sniffer or whatever you want to call it, twins open. Twins open, 20 personnel, however you want to look at it. Okay, this formation has become a predominant mainstay in high school, college football. It's something you're going to see all the time. All right, so if you got into this structure and you defended it with your structure of defense, and I can tell you at least for us right now, if you could defend power and counter out of that set, all right, every day, every week, every game plan, if you are ready to defend with whatever your base structure is, if you are ready to defend power counter out of, all right, 20 personnel, okay, and then maybe depending on the team you're playing, all right, maybe you got to look at some split zone stuff, all right, maybe you've got to look at sniffer vertical, okay, or maybe you have to look at, you know, sniffer flat, the, you know, the RPO version where they read the end, put the sniffer in the flat, and they block 1 and 2 with the corner and the safety, all right, and then they put the sniffer in the flat. But if you really look at it, if you could defend those simple structures week in and week out, when you go to make your game plan up and you go to do your scout cards, you'll find out most of the time that if a team plays this type of personnel, that's usually what you're going to see at the high school level. All right, now, whether the quarterback is a runner and you see more quarterback runs and now you start to get into read game, so now you got to defend power, counter, read, all right, still just a slight nuance to how you defend a gap scheme. If you can defend that gap scheme properly, all right, week in and week out, you'll find out in your game plans, like one of the things we did this year for me within the first 3 to 4 weeks of my game plans is instead of drawing entirely new scout cards each week, there are certain scout cards that have been in the book since week 1, and we're now going into week 5 because those structures show up almost every week, regardless of who we play, unless we play an exotic like a flex bone or a wing T. No matter who we play, those same things show up. 2-back power counter shows up. Jet power read shows up. All right. Simple screens, to whether it be 2x2 or 3x1 screens, show up every single week. So you end up finding out that what I've started to do now, all right, and again, limited success. Obviously, right now we are 1-3, not winning a ton of football games, but the 3 teams that we've lost to are a combined 13-3. So we're playing some pretty good teams. We're not playing our best football. But what I found on defense that helps us out a little bit is I've got 6 or 7 scout cards in the book that have been the same since week 1. Because every week those things show up. And the more and more I look at it each week after we play games, and the more and more I break things down, the more and more I find out if we would just play our base structure and be able to defend 2x2, 3x1, 20 personnel, all right? Every week we go in, we'll have a fighting chance because the offenses aren't drastically much different. Maybe there's a tight end, maybe there's 21 personnel, so 2x1 is 21 and not 20 personnel. All right, maybe they're a little bit more empty with some jet and some quarterback run. Okay, but at the end of the day, what you end up finding out, or at least what I find out, is if I can worry more about our structure on defense and how we line up to formations and how we defend structures, not plays. If we defend structures first with good technique, good fundamentals, how we take on blocks, how we fit runs, where our fourth players are, where we're trying to send the ball, if we can do that within our defensive structure and philosophy, each week, regardless of who we play, we're always going to have a fighting chance. If we worry too much about game plan and we worry too much about blitzes that week or changing coverages that week, what ends up happening is you spend a bunch of time early in the week getting this new game plan installed. And then you find out on Friday night that some of the things that you installed that were nice little nuances and wrinkles, if you don't line up and execute them right, or you don't line up and play them properly, they end up getting you beat because they're things that your kids aren't comfortable with. So what I found out the hard way is the more we can do things that our kids do well, that we are comfortable with, the more that we can line up to the static formations that you're going to see every week. Almost every week we've played so far in our 4 games this year, we have seen 2x2, 3x1, and some type of 11 or 20 personnel, depending on how you want to label a sniffer or depending on how that other team uses the sniffer tight end, where he's lined up. Is he outside the tackle box as a detached number 3 to where it's a 3-man surface, but at the same time he can also get vertical right away? Is he inside the tackle box so that he can be a power counter player, a kick out player, or a wrap player on counter? Do they use him in the passing game at all? Little things like that every week so far for us in the first 4 weeks have shown up. Now this past week we saw more empty, more jet motion quarterback runs. So that's a little nuance, but we still saw a GT counter. We still saw a power read, and then we saw some inside zone. So really at the end of the day, although the team we played was a little bit different structurally as far as being more wide open, 2x2, 3x1 empty, more 10 personnel, when it got down to it, the runs that they were coming at us with, even if it was off a jet sweep, we were seeing GT counter, we were seeing inside zone, we were seeing power. So at the end of the day, to me, the first 4 or 5 weeks, if we can just defend power counter and then structurally in the passing game get guys where they belong, we have a chance to be more successful on defense rather than worrying about blitz of the week each week or coverage of the week or drawing up new scout cards all the time to say this week we got to defend these 3-4 plays. If you would just defend the same things and defend them structurally every week, be solid against 2x2, be solid against 3x1, be solid against 2x1, be solid against gap schemes, I think you have a chance to win a lot of high school football games when the talent is even. All right, obviously high school can get a little bit mismatched at times, and when it does, obviously, if the talent isn't even, the game's hard to stay close. But you'll play better football if you structurally defend things week in and week out within your base system, and you don't make a ton of changes, and your kids get used to how you defend 2x2, 3x1, 20 personnel or 11 personnel, how you defend gap schemes, how you defend quarterback read game. If you do those things over and over and over again, I guarantee you, you'll play better defense and hopefully win more games. All right, I appreciate everything you guys do for Play Fast Football. Make sure, if you're not a subscriber, you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn your notifications on so you know every time we do a video or I go on YouTube Live, which I haven't done in a while, but I may do that either tonight or this week. I may jump on YouTube Live. So leave a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down if you like this or don't like it. If you like how we present the material or you don't, you like what we talk about or you don't, leave a comment. Everything that's football related, whether it's positive, negative. If it's football related, I will respond to it. It's an opinion. You are entitled to your opinion. When you do a platform like YouTube or you go on social media and you put opinions out there, you have to understand that other people have opinions. If it's something you're doing just to get notoriety on a video or you're plugging another site, I probably won't respond. But even if it's possibly negative or you don't agree with what I do, I get a lot of people that disagree with what we do, say we teach too much, we do too much, the vernacular is not right. I always respond to those people because it's their opinion and they're entitled to their opinion, and I appreciate them watching. All right, so thanks for everything you do for PlayFast. Hopefully you guys are getting through your season. Hopefully the pandemic hasn't affected you too much. Hopefully you're staying healthy, and hopefully you're winning some football games. At the end of the day, though, it's still coaching, it's still ball, so hopefully you're enjoying what you do for a living. All right, remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Thanks for everything you do. I'll see you guys next time.